Third POV. As the group of students left the gym to go their dorms, being led by Vlad King and Hound Dog, it took a couple of minutes before Class 1A asked to have a sleepover with Class 1B, the big three, May, Melissa, and Shinso. Vlad King and Hound Dog looked at each other to ponder the decision, before nodding in agreement, the latter growling really. The students cheered and celebrated. Kirishima and Tetsu already organizing a video game tournament between the guys. The girls of 1A were silently cheering and congratulating themselves for the idea they proposed. For the next *Didiku club meeting, we need Setsuna and Melissa to join us. Momo thought, groaning over the name Mina suggested for their group, and already looking for a new one. Nijire and Mirio and Amajiki were already going to our dorms, and Melissa was supposed to bunk in the support course with May. So it seemed logical to invite everyone for a sleepover. Uraraka also threw Shinsu's name into the mix at the last second. While his added presence didn't do much for the girls' plans, they knew that the indigo-haired teen appreciated being included with the rest of his soon-to-be fellow hero classmates, even if the uncomfortableness displayed on his face, from being drawn into a bear hug by Kirishima, said otherwise. So, all the students gathered outside of Class 1B's dorms, waiting for the remaining members of Class 1B to gather their stuff for the sleepover, while likewise waiting on May to get her stuff from her dorm and Shinso from his own. Melissa waited with them, luggage in hand, that was conveniently placed and hidden in the darkness of the gym by the exit. Izuku stood at the edge of the group, stuck in his head and thoughts. Link, Zack Fair, Spider-Man and Goku. Izuku counted in his head. So far that's over 12 different counterparts of mine that we found out. Normally, the fact that Deku has so many different and powerful counterparts, and some weird like this Daisy the rabbit that he had been told, would cause the super self-critical teen to be confused, but then Izuku remembered what the device said the day prior. Individual known as Izuku Midoriya has been scanned and determined to be a catalyst and keystone figure of the multiverse, otherwise known as a nexus point. The device pretty much said that I am somehow an important person or figure in our universe, like All Might, One for All and All for One. Izuku frowned in thought. And given that All Might had a number of counterparts too and he's considered a key factor in our universe, it would make sense why I would have so many. But Izuku recalled how many of his counterparts, and counterparts to other individuals, inadvertently were revealing more of Izuku's past and secrets, detrimental ones. Harry Potter and Spider-Man practically exposed his not-so-great bullied past. Kratos, Spawn, and now Sonic and Goku were nearly revealing One for All. And even his Liu Kang counterpart, if the group start to look closer, is teasing his master-slash-student relationship with All Might. Speaking of which, Izuku was observant, very observant, and he couldn't help but notice how All Might's counterparts, specifically Thor and Superman, both had a romantic relationship with his mothers, Inko Midoriya's counterparts, those being Jane Foster and Lois Lane. It filled him with suspicion, which only grew with noticing All Might shivering and shaking, scared like a deer caught in the headlights, and a rising sense of overprotectiveness for his amazing mother. She didn't exactly have the best history with love, considering his so-called father was millions of miles away in America on a business trip. Izuku already knew the truth that his parents split up, coincidentally a few months after he was diagnosed as quirkless. Deku didn't need his supposed genius to connect the dots. Since then, his mother has spent her whole life looking after him, growing wider as she ate more stressfully, growing paranoid and worried every time he was away from home for too long. Even her friendships were strained ever since he was revealed to be quirkless, many of her so-called friends abandoning her like she had the plague, which given he was quirkless might as well have been. Even her outings and hangouts with Auntie Mitsuki were growing fewer and farther between, though Izuku didn't know that that particular reason was more of Mitsuki's own son than it did him. And now with everything that has happened, him getting a quirk, going to and living at UA, and All Might swearing to look after him, Midoriya's mom was getting better and better. She started going to the gym and getting healthier, slowly but assuredly getting back to old shape, and going out on her girls' night, with Auntie Mitsuki. But now, with the knowledge that his own mentor and idol was possibly seeing his mother, Izuku didn't know how to take it. You can't deny that you see him like the father you never had, Izuku admitted to himself. But does that mean I'm cool with him actually being my dad? Am I scared that he will hurt her? All Might would never do something like that. He may not be the sharpest tool in the shed in class, but he wouldn't ever hurt her. So why am I still upset? Could I just be worrying over nothing and being overprotective? Am I mad that they didn't tell me? Or am I just still holding hope for father to come back? Izuku broke out of his musing when he felt Eri moving. Speaking of father figures, Izuku looked down to the white-haired girl that named him her papa in All But Blood. He held her hand as they waited outside with the rest of his classmates. She always liked it when they held hands when they went out on a walk or when he gave her piggyback rides. But right now, she was clearly impatient, shifting and tapping on her feet and her hands clammy with sweat. Kuta was to his right while Eri was on his left. While Eri held Dekka's hand, the young boy was still working on his antisocialness and refused to hold hands, even with Izuku. Izuku didn't mind, taking the childish awkwardness compared to the hostility he showed when they first met. Kuta was currently tapping his feet impatiently too, grumbling and frowning on how long the others were taking. However, comparing his impatience to Eri's, the latter's was more the nervous kind. Even in his musings, Izuku didn't forget that Eri wanted to ask him about something after they left the gym. Izuku promised that the two can talk alone when they got back to the dorms, though the added detour to Class 1B's dorms and waiting on Mei Shinso, and the big three left her waiting longer than she clearly wanted. Izuku didn't know what Eri wanted to ask him about. He already accepted being Eri's papa as much as the others accepted, and enjoyed being her grandpas, uncles, and aunties, and doubted that she wanted to ask him to take the position officially. He also doubted that Eri actually saw him as her biological father. The girl, despite being young and naive, wasn't too clueless to know the truth of their relationship. So what did she want to talk about? Izuku thought. So many different questions and troubling situations, and yet so little time to figure them out. Well, I guess this one can be answered when we get back to the dorms, right? A few minutes later, the students were now all headed towards the 1A dorms, ignoring Monoma's questions and rants on why they were going to the 1A dorms instead of 1A going to 1B's dorms. It took a bit, but Shinso, the big three, and Mei got their stuff from their dorms. Mei's stuff including a large backpack filled with tools and materials, unsurprisingly. Vlad was a little mad that he had to wait so long for Mei to get her stuff, but chose to keep silent, knowing that the pink-haired inventor was already sour after Power Loader took the blueprints, materials, and the crystals needed to work on the lightsabers. On the way to the dorms, Kamakiri perked up. "Hey, Jairu." Kamakiri spoke up. "Yeah," Kyuka replied, raising an eyebrow at what he wanted. "Didn't that box thing download a shitload of music onto your phone?" Kamakiri pointed at where her phone would be. Kyuka's eyebrows raised. "Oh shit, I forgot," Kyuka exclaimed, digging into her pocket to bring out her phone and going to her music library. Yep, that device was legit. It made a whole new playlist with more than 300 songs on it. "Well, how's about you play something to pass the time?" Nast. "What about that catchy one that we heard in Spider-Man's analysis? I think it went something like Spectacular Spider-Man." "Sure." Kyuka shrugged, earning some cheers from her peers. While she scrolled, Setsuna, slowing down and walking beside Izuku, poked her elbow at his side. "Hear that, Green Bean? We're going to be listening to some of your tunes." Setsuna teased her fellow greenette. Izuku blushed red, both embarrassed at the attention and listening to music revolving his counterpart, and the other at Setsuna's proximity and teasing, something that both Eri and the girls noticed. Fueled by a bit of jealousy, Kyuka quickly searched up and found the music by the name of Spectacular Spider-Man theme song. "Oh wait, this also has a music video," Kyuka said, confused. Ooh, play it. Play it," Mina pleaded. "A little hard to show the whole thing to everyone on a small phone, don't you think, Mina?" Kyuka retorted. "No problem," Yui said, looking to Reiko and both nodding. Yui took Kyuka's phone and used her quirk, transforming the phone large enough that it could be considered a flat-screen TV. Reiko then used her quirk and lifted the phone into the air, telepathically floating as they walked. "I guess that works," Kyuka said, looking to the two. "Thanks." She raised the volume enough for the group to hear and pressed the large play button. The video began with the riffs of guitar and showing a newspaper picture of Spider-Man hanging upside by a web line over a bridge, followed by a few more newspapers of Spider-Man swinging through the air with a criminal in hand, and another of him punching down another criminal. Mysterious, catchy music played as a final newspaper image showed a building before zooming to the real one and into the inside. There, standing away from the rest of a group of students, was a skinnier, nerdier, emphasized by his round glasses, of Izuku Midoriya. Midoriya, the class questioned. Izuku and Bakugo blinked, realizing that the person looked like Izuku's former skinny self, but the glasses and attire were rather different. Bakugo couldn't help but flinch at seeing the old Midoriya that he used to punch, kick, and explode for fun and appeasing his jealousy. The girls likewise blinked, surprised, almost shocked at how vastly different Midoriya looked compared to the more confident and muscular version. Though despite the change, the girls couldn't help but giggle at how cute he actually looked. The music continued and picked up as a spider slid down via a web line and landed on the nerdy Midoriya's hand. Midoriya suddenly jerked and swung his hand, the spider flying away dead, while Midoriya looked at his hand, where the screen zoomed onto the spider bite, into his body and through his blood cells, and witnessed the DNA strand morphing red and blue and then black and turning into the spider insignia, all the while red letters and spelled out, DNA hacked. This must some alternate universe where Midoriya is living his counterpart's, Peter Parker's, life as Spider-Man, Momo deduced. And this must be where the radioactive spider bit and mutated him. Living on the edge, fighting crime, spinning webs, a man's voice began to sing, the black spider insignia now plastered on the front of Spider-Man's suit, a smirking Izuku sticking to the side of a building, now without glasses, his face sharper and more similar to their Izuku, his muscular, lean body hugged by his red and blue suit, and placing the Spider-Man mask over his face before shooting out a web line, jumping off and swinging away. The guys and 1B girls, sans Setsuna, smiled at seeing Midoriya now as the Spider-Man and the song truly beginning. Setsuna and the girls blushed brightly at seeing this smirking Izuku's muscular, yet lean body hugged by his suit in all the right places. Swinging from the highest ledge. He can leap above our heads. Spider-Man swung from buildings with grace and unnatural precision, at one point swinging from the bottom of a news chopper. He looks so cool, Kuda said with awe. This music's catchy, Kaminari said, nodding to the music. Izuku smiled, seeing how another version of himself, truly a hero already and fighting crime. He likewise focused on Spider-Man web swinging, analyzing in his movements to try out later with Black Whip. Backup singers awed in the background as Spider-Man's shadow swung past New Yorkers looking at a wall of TV screens featuring him and showing a picture of Spider-Man crawling up the wall of a building. Below it reading, "Pictures by Izuku Midoriya." Kyuka smiled, liking the tone the song and backup chorus were making. She found the music giving an air of both mystery and heroism of Spider-Man. "Hey look, pictures by Izuku Midoriya," Hagakure pointed out. They did say that Peter Parker was a photographer, and so is Izuku in this world. Villains on the rise and the cities victimized. Above the highlights, supervillains showed Spider-Man swinging after Vulture while a shocker on a helicopter fired sound waves at him, followed by the Lizard roaring, Electro sparking yellow electricity everywhere, and Rhino bursting through a building in rush, looking up with no surprise, arriving in the speed of time. Spider-Man looked out, unaware of four clawed tentacles rising and reaching towards him. A large fist made of sand smashed a TV screen showing Spider-Man, and then the whole screen was covered in the black symbiote goop of venom. Spider-Man was shown dodging shocker sound waves, standing face to face against Mysterio hovering in green cloud with dragons at his side, and a monstrous mutated Kraven, and Green Goblin firing pumpkin bombs at him, before Spider-Man shoots a web line and swings forwards and throws a punch. Jesus, and he has to fight those villains on all time? Cozy Eye questioned. It's what heroes do, Ida said. Though I am concerned about this world's containment procedures and measures towards villains if they can escape and repeat their actions so much. Kaminari still shivered at the sight of Electro, Setsuna perked up at seeing the lizard roaring and rampaging. Reiko blinked at seeing Mysterio and his magical powers. Amajiki shook at mutated Craven roaring. And Izuku's and Ida's spine felt a chill roll up at seeing Green Goblin. Spectacular! Spectacular! Spider-Man! Spider-Man swung through the air, avoiding gunfire from Fisk building. Spectacular! Spectacular! Spider-Man! Spidey swung low to the ground, his hand brushing the road, before twisting and angling his body over a taxicab, swinging up and running above a gas truck before jumping out. Spectacular! Spectacular! Spider-Man! Spider-Man dodged goblin ranks, a large sand hand from Sandman, and swinging a large black combat-suited man. His hands webbed together and held in a web line onto the side of building. Spectacular! Spider-Man ran along the side of glass railing before leaping and swinging out. Awesome! Mina cheered, amazed at Spider-Man's acrobatics, and the music getting her close to start dancing. It's just like what he heard in Spider-Man's analysis. Oyama said, "This song's sick." Zero smiled and nodded at the beat. The song continued with a long series of guitar riffs and chords, all the while showing Spider-Man faced a multitude of different villains. They saw him face off alone against Vulture, Rhino, Electro, Scorpion, Mr. Negative, and Dr. Octopus, get beaten and brutalized by the Six before being tossed out. They then showed Spider-Man falling, almost unconscious towards darkness before webline above him and flying up to kick Rhino's jaw, and then showing him standing above a New York City gargoyle, now donning his black suit. The mysterious music plays again and shows a light shot by a web bullet, flickering the lights on and off and showing through quick flashes of light Spider-Man taking out thugs before striking at Hammerhead. After all that, and he still gets back up. Uraraka smiled. No wonder in another life Deku would be Spider-Man. Izuku smiled at Uraraka, grateful for her words, and hoped to continue living to her trust and praise. "Whoa, look at the black suit," pointed out. "That must be when he wore that Venom symbiote thing." "Revelry in the dark," Tokoyami and Korwaro proclaimed, both loving the black suit look, Spider-Man's attack in the dark, and practically feeling the ominous off of the symbiote suit. Crawling through the night, facing evil with his might. He's a hero in our eyes, see the headlights every time. Spider-Man dived and spun his body in between the claws of a giant creature of black energy, spinning his body to face its demon-looking face, shooting web lines at either side of its head before swinging forward, crashing through it and kicking Mr. Negative in the face, showing him falling down to the Spider-Man in a heroic light. "Okay, that was manly," Kirishima exclaimed. "But what the heck was that?" Tetsu scratched his head. "It looked like an Omi or something. Must have been some energy construct of that villain Spider-Man kicked," Melissa suggested. "The villain gave off a similar glow and energy." Spider-Man struggled and grappled against the lizard before showing him soaring through the buildings, with Black Cat beside him, before it showed Black Cat giving Spidey an upside-down kiss. While the guys hooted and whistled in cheer for the man, Mineta wailed in bloody-teared jealousy at seeing the hot femme fatale making out with Midoriya's counterpart. The girls were, surprisingly, on the same page with Mineta, glaring jealousy at Black Cat for kissing their crush. Izuku's face went a new shade of red at seeing the kiss from the admittingly hot cat thief. Making villains fall, webbing rivals to a halt. Spider-Man was shown dropping cement onto Sandman and turning him into a statue, knocking Vulture into a black web, and launching feet first, through a small hole of crates and striking at Electro. Racing up and down the walls, bringing justice to us all. Spider-Man was shown clashing against Doc Ock on the side of a building, luring Scorpion and Rhino into a crate, and then showing him strike at Green Goblin. "Ingenious," Ida hummed impressed. "Against an opponent made entirely of sand that he can't hurt." He poured cement on the villain to trap him. Spider-Man webbed Shocker to the ground, then swung out of building of exploding pumpkin bombs, before showing Izuku Midoriya, his name by the side of him, in civilian clothes smiling at the screen. "That's some cool clothes," Kyuka said, appreciating how it fit Midoriya well, and wondering if she can get him into a similar style instead of his, while adorable plain t-shirts that only had the word t-shirt on them. Spectacular! Spectacular! Spider-Man! Spider-Man was shown webbing up a collapsing construction site before showing him crawling up a building in his black suit. Spectacular! Spectacular! Spider-Man! Spider-Man leapt off a building in a flip, before Melissa's shield was shown smiling up at the screen, followed by what looked like Ida with the name Harry Osborn beside him, followed by J. Jonah Jameson frowning. Spectacular! Ochako Uraraka was shown smiling as well, before finishing with Spider-Man taking a picture towards the screen with the name beside him being Spidey. The aforementioned people in the video smiled at seeing their counterparts. The music continued as Spider-Man jumped off a building, falling straight down towards the ground, arms spread and completely calm. Spectacular! Spectacular! Spider-Man! At the last minute, Spider-Man shot a web line and swung up into the air, flipping and twisting his body till he faced the city before him in a Spider-Man pose, his back to the screen. That was sick. Zero smiled, seeing Spider-Man strike that pose and last-minute swing. Spectacular! Spectacular! Spider-Man! Spider-Man flipped and landed and on the edge of a New York building in a Spider-Man pose. As the last of the iconic music played, Spidey made a web hammock and hopped on and laid in it, removed his mask to reveal Izuku's smirking face and leaned down to grab a box of pizza and pull out a slice to eat. Meanwhile, the blue sky turned red with a black web design and two clouds replaced by Spider-Man's eyes. The group of students chuckled at seeing this Izuku's laid-back attitude, and clapped and cheered at the end of the video. That was a cool song, Suka admitted, nodding. Hey Jairu, could you send that to me? Ooh, me too. Me too. Pony hopped and waved her arms, followed by many of the students. Sure thing, guys. Kyuka nodded. Oh look, we're here. Reiko pointed out, the students coming to a halt and realizing that Class 1A's dorms are right in front of them. Oh, that was fast. Setsuna hummed. Yui shrank Jairu's phone back to normal size and Reiko moved it back into Jairu's hand, the punk girl thanking them with a nod. The guys ran straight into the dorms, dragging their less enthusiastic members with them, Bakugu in particular roaring out his displeasure. Mirio and Amajiki waved Vlad King and Hung Dog as they left and began walking in. Hey hey! Nijire stopped and moved up to be in front of the girls. How about a little girls' meeting like last night? This time with the Melissa, May, and the 1B girls. I'd be happy to. I've never really had a girls' night, or meeting really. Melissa accepted the invitation, knowing that this was some impromptu decision for the 1A girls and Nijire to talk with her and Setsuna about Midoriya, with the rest of the 1B girls asked to not seem suspicious. Sure. Suka nodded. This could be a good bonding experience between us girls from different classes. As the girls were about to climb the steps to the dorms, Uraraka looked back to see Izuku, still holding Eri's hand, asking Kuta to go on ahead with Mirio and the other. Hey Deku! Uraraka called out, gaining Izuku and Eri's attention. You coming? In a bit, Deku called back. Me and Eri just have something to talk about alone. Uraraka and the girls blinked, confused and intrigued as to what this was about, but nodded and continued on, Uraraka and the rest of the 1A girls practically dragging their 1B counterparts towards the girls' dorms, leaving behind a bunch of very confused guys and a scheming Mineta that was quickly tied up by the guys into a chair to prevent him from enacting said scheme. Meanwhile, in the teacher's meeting room, Nizu sat at the head of the table, looking around at the people gathered around him. All Might, Gran Torino, and Recovery Girl sat by his right, all three wondering why they were summoned by the rodent principal to this meeting. Eraserhead, Present Mike, and Midnight sat by his left, their faces evident that they caught on as to why. Midnight's eyes were glazed and distant as she looked down her lap, likely lost in her thoughts and memories, whichever they were being one that brought sadness. Mick's arms were crossed on the table, his finger tapping impatiently on its wooden frame. His teeth were in a gritted frown, grumbles and small mutterings being heard escaping from his mouth. Finally, Aizawa's eyes portrayed someone dead inside, more than usual. They were half closed and cold, a deep frown on his face. Arms crossed, and All Might could pick up that Eraser was gripping the sides of his arms tightly. "Thank you all for coming here." Nizu thanked the teachers and guests before him. "I do apologize that this meeting had to take place so soon after the videos, but I assumed that it would be better to have this discussion sooner rather than later." "You're damn right about that," Mike growled, still angry. "Hizashi," Midnight hissed warningly at her friend and co-worker. "No, Namuri. Don't Hizashi me," Mike snapped, his shades lowering to see his angry eyes. "I'm not your junior second year when we were at UA. Mike, I believe what Midnight means to say is that you should calm down." All Might jumped in softly. "Calm down. Calm down." Mike slammed his fists into the table. "How can I possibly be calm after the lies that machine said about Shirakumo? There is no way that Shirakumo could ever be that warp bastard. He's dead. He's been dead for so long." Mick's shoulders slumped, his voice losing that rage, and was instead full of sadness and disbelief. Before Nizu could speak, Eraserhead beat him to the punch. "Enough, Hizashi," Izawa spoke up. "That's enough. Enough. You sound like you believe that bullshit that machine said," Mike accused. "How can you be angry after what that thing said? You were friends with him too." Aizawa's eyes snapped to Mike, glowing red, and his hair stood up from his quirk, though his angry glare alone was enough to silence Mike. "I was and I am angry," Aizawa growled dangerously. "I am angry enough right now to stomp on over to the support department and smash that box to pieces and say it was all a lie." Aizawa's eyes went back to normal, his hair falling down too, gazing back down at the table. "But if we don't listen and talk this over, we may not get a straight answer." The room was deadly silent. The rest of the teachers were simply silent, sending gazes of pity and sympathy towards to the three longtime friends. Mike sighed and sat back down onto his seat, sending a near-silent sorry to Midnight for yelling at her. The R-rated hero smiled and took the apology, placing a comforting hand on Hizashi's shoulders. "Thank you, Eraserhead." Nizu sent a thankful nod at the insomniac teacher, who barely replied, simply listening. Now back to the matter at hand. This meeting is to discuss the authenticity of the device's revelation that Oboro Shirakumo is indeed the member of the League of Villains, Kurogyri. Receiving curt nods from the assembled group, Nizu turned to Gran Torino and All Might. "Gran Torino, All Might, you two have had the most experience with the warp villain. What were your impressions of him?" Kurogyri was cold and ruthless. All Might spoke up first. "In the USJ, from what I saw of him, he had no qualms putting the students in grave danger, and even though he said he would have preferred not to sully the insides of his warp gates, he was all too willing to slice me apart if it meant my downfall." Mike scoffed, still in clear denial. Midnight and Eraserhead were off a sane yet tempered mindset. Looking back to their past, the Shirakumo they remembered was kind and selfless, willing to go to hell and back and let himself get punished if it meant the good of others. Oboro was also jovial, casual, and energetic. He was like a more tempered version of Yamada. Nothing of what All Might said about the warp villain fit with Shirakumo. "Go on," Nizu said, noticing All Might had more to say. But he was more cautious than Shigaraki. All Might continued, cupping his chin in thought. Whenever Shigaraki looked close to lashing out or panicking, Kurogyri was level-headed, calming him down and to focus on the facts and situation. I was sure that after I defeated the Nomu that Shigaraki would flee, but then Kurogyri seemed to calm him down again, like he knew I was at my limit, and when the teachers arrived and Shigaraki was injured, rather than continue going after me, he protected Shigaraki. He was like Shigaraki's supervisor or guardian, constantly watching over him. The three grew stiff. Aizawa's eyes began to widen, Mike and Midnight following as well. Memories of Shirakumo adopting a stray cat popped up in their minds. Aizawa remembered how Shirakumo gave him his goggles and promised to have his back when they went up against the villain that ultimately took his life. Sounds accurate to what I got off of him. Gran Torino nodded. When me and Tsukachi managed to capture him, he was more worried about Shigaraki. He was constantly muttering about whether he was doing okay or if that giant would find the boy. In our attempts to interrogate him, he would say nothing more than if Shigaraki was okay. When we didn't answer, he would go silent. If we said we didn't know, he went silent. Nothing could get him to crack. Mick's fists started to shake, while his teeth gritted. Midnight's eyes started to twitch, and Aizawa's hands gripped his shoulder tighter and tighter with every comparison. But all those could just be coincidences. Midnight reasoned. From what you could gather, he was Shigaraki's bodyguard, so it would make sense that he would adhere to his duties. Besides, there are three major things that don't make sense. His quirk. Kurogiri's quirk is called Warp Gate and allows him to open portals to wherever he wants, but Shirakumo's was Loud Cloud, a floating cloud he controlled that acted like that Goku's flying nimbus. Secondly, even if Shirakumo was still alive, he was hero through and through. He wouldn't ever be in league with someone like Shigaraki or All for One. And finally, as I just said, Shirakumo is dead. His head was. Midnight paused, the words stuck in her throat, unable to say what Shirakumo's fatal injury was. And his body was cremated. We gave the ashes to his family. Yes, those are factors that make this discussion seem over and done with. Mizu hummed. However, we must remember the person that is potentially behind this atrocity. Should it truly be the truth? All for One. All Might growled, his fists clenching. All the more with another evil deed that the evil 200-year-old monster has potentially committed. Indeed, Mizu nodded. When it comes to a man who can take and bestow quirks unto others, nothing is assured. All for One has a history with transferring multiple quirks and mutating and fusing quirks together, either experimentally or naturally. All Might, Gran Torino, Recovery Girl, and Aizawa both looked at each other for a moment, knowing full well what the rodent was referring to. One for all, All Might thought. His own former quirk was a perfect example of a quirk fusing and mutating with another quirk into something else. The quirk of the first, All for One's brother, was the ability to pass on his own quirk to others. Then All for One forced upon him a stockpiling quirk, one that fused with the original quirk to form the quirk that was one for all. The Nomus. Recovery Girl spoke up, moving on to the former category of All for One's machinations with quirks. For all intents and purposes, the Nomu that fought All Might in the USJ is effectively brain dead, unable to talk, respond, or comply with any interrogation, and seems programmed to only follow its masters. Like a walking, living corpse. The three flinched at the words from the elderly pro and nurse. Additionally, the Nomu that have been contained since then were all pretty much the same. Gran Torino said. The ones we captured during our raid on Kamino were just like the first one. Unresponsive towards orders or commands. No signs of intelligence of their own. Gran Torino narrowed his eyes. But then, there was the one that attacked Endeavor. The teachers remembered the Nomu that attacked Endeavor shortly after the hero billboard chart that officially pronounced the man as the new #1 hero of Japan. Unlike the others of its kind, it was capable of speech and intelligence and strategy, though the former was severely limited towards only combat and destruction. Yet it could learn, adapt, think. And if one can do so, what says another can't? Whoa, hold up. Mike raised his hands to wait. What are you saying? That Kurogiri is some Nomu made from the corpse of Shirakumo. He was cremated. All for One had many connections. All Might argued back, knowing the army of followers that the villain amassed and how he fought against them. I defeated many, but if All for One survived my first fight against him, I squashed his head like a melon, and yet he lived. Furthermore, All Might continued. One man, despite his powers, couldn't have created those Nomu. They were altered and experimented to wield multiple quirks. The Nomu me and Aizawa fought in the USJ held a strength as strong as mine that wasn't a result of a quirk, but simply was that strong. What does that have to do with anything I just said? He means that someone was helping All for One. Aizawa answered, eyes narrowed. His thoughts turning back to the shadow fight. Someone who helped save All for One after his battle with All Might. He remembered Shadow was created by a Gerald Robotnik, a doctor who had knowledge of biological experimentation. Someone who helped experiment on the Nomu to turn them into those monsters. That Gerald Robotnik also looked and held the same last name as Dr. Eggman, whose counterpart just so happened to be the same suspicious doctor who Midoriya knew by another name, Dr. Tsubasa, a quirk doctor. Aizawa turned to Mike with grave seriousness. Someone who could have replaced Shirakumo's body and experimented on him to become Kurogiri. The room was silent once again. Recovery Girl sighed in sadness at what happened to such an innocent, young soul. Midnight clapped a mouth over her mouth, trying to hide both her sobs and keep the rising vial down. All Might and Gran Torino looked at each other, anger and new purpose in their eyes. Nizu looked completely normal and silent. His clasped hands over his mouth, yet looking closely. His tail was straight and pointed, and his eyes held undeniable rage and vengeance. Mike sunk back into his seat, his shades falling from his face and revealed his wide, horrified eyes as he considered Aizawa's words. And for Aizawa himself, even without his quirk activated, they held a death glare, picturing whatever mad, twisted person could have desecrated the memory of his friend, and promising to find them and kill them. A truly despicable possibility, and a possibility it still is for now. Nizu calmed down and reminded the group from jumping to conclusions. For now, tomorrow, All Might Gran Torino, and I will come into contact with Detective Tsukachi. Gran Torino has been working alongside Tsukachi in the containment and interrogation of Kurogiri, and we will soon get to the bottom of this. But for now, we must keep this information as silent and confidential as we can. Nizu turned to the three teachers who still looked unsatisfied. Oboro Shirakumo was a student of UA High School, and a dear and treasured student at that. Nizu continued. He is as much my responsibility and burden as the three of you, and I promise that we will use every resource within our means to getting to the bottom of this. You have my word. After a silent moment of contemplation, the three nodded in acceptance, All Might, Recovery Girl, and Gran Torino nodding afterwards. A few moments later, the teachers left the room and went on their way, leaving Nizu alone in the conference room. Alone and unseen, the rodent principal slammed his clenched paw into the table, a small crack as a result. I know that look you had back there, Aizawa, but make no mistake, I will be the one who will kill this person. Nizu hopped off his chair and exited the room, making his way to the support department. Nizu thought back to his own experimentation, recalling the memory of a bald old man with a frizzy mustache, his face obscured by the surgeon mask and his round golden-green tinted goggles. I will. Back at 1A Heights Alliance dorms, the girls all decided to gather into Ajui's room. At first, Momo's room was opted for an option, but when the 1B girls looked inside to see the massive fancy bed, and little room left because of it, they saw the point. Mina's room was also an option, as well as Kyuka's, Hagakura's and Uraraka's, but given Mei hauling her bag of machines, some if not most, of which could explode or leak oil, the 3 rooms girls refused. Mina and Hagakure didn't want their rooms or decor made a mess of. Kyuka didn't want her instruments ruined. And Uraraka was very stingy about any of stuff being ruined too, given her lack of money to fix or replace them. Ajui's was the only one whose room was spacious enough and willing enough to let all the girls in, including Mei and her equipment. Ajui's room, the girls recalled, was the one of the only rooms that was not part of the 1A room challenge the class held when they first moved in. Ajui was, at the time, sulking in her room dealing with the Bakugo Rescue Squad's actions, and Bakugo, the other who didn't participate, was also sulking in his room, dealing with the fallout of his kidnapping. Ajui's room was fully painted green and covered with lots of frog-centric decor. From the walls full of happy frog faces, a frog alarm clock, a frog-decorated bed and sheets, a large heater, explained by Ajui to be for more colder nights. There was also a picture of her family on her desk, as well as a picture of Midoriya with a heart over it. Ajui was quick to hide away the picture. A fool's errand, since the girls all saw it anyways. Now, they were all gathered around Ajui's room and changed into their PJs and casual clothes. Ajui, Uraraka, Kinoko, and Reiko sat on Ajui's bed. Yurarika wore a plain yellow pajama button shirt and pants, Azui some frog-themed PJs with a hood that resembled a frog, Kinoko had pajamas with cute mushrooms themed all over it, and Reiko's had little cute bedsheet ghosts on hers. It was decided that after the meeting they would split into 6 girl rooms, with Setsuna and Mei staying in Azui's room. As such, they had their beds set up on Azui's floor. Currently sitting on them was Setsuna, Mina, Hagakure, Pony, Ibara, and Mei, the later of whom was tinkering with some baby of hers, Ibara needing clarification on what Mei said by baby. Ibara was wearing a modest white pajamas with a golden cross across her left breast pocket, Mina a purple, sleeveless shirt and black shorts. Hagakure was seeable from her light blue, pink-striped shirt and shorts. Pony had a Wild West-themed pajama that had a sheriff badge designed above her left breast pocket. Mei, reluctantly, put on another sleeveless black shirt and pink shorts, and Setsuna had a dinosaur-themed pajama, her button shirt unbuttoned to show her abs and moss-green bra which Ibara narrowed her eyes at. Momo sat in the chair by Azui's desk, Kyuka sitting on the desk on one side and Melissa on the other. Momo had a modest sleepwear as well as a khaki-colored pajamas, and decided to let her waterfall of raven hair down. Kyuka wore a light gray shirt with the word dead written across her shirt and black shorts, and Melissa changed into a suspiciously green pajama that reminded the girls of Deka's hair. Finally, Itsuka and Yui leaned by the wall, the former wearing a blue sleeveless shirt and red shorts, and the latter a red and white themed pajama that resembled her hero suit. And as for Nijire, she was comfortable floating above them in the air with her quirk, wearing a light purple pajama. Nice room, Azui. Setsuna nodded in appreciation as she looked around the room. Almost like mine, but mine's more dinosaur-themed. Both reptiles. Azui croaked out simply. And call me Tsu. So, not to sound impatient or anything, but why are we all gathered here for? Suka asked. I figured that we could participate in the boys' video game tournament. You only want to hang out with boys to get closer with Tetsu, right Itsuka? Setsuna teased with a razor-sharp tooth grin. Ooh. Romance of Class 1B. Mina jumped in delight. Itsuka blushed red-hot. Oh, of course not. Itsuka denied loudly. We're just friends. Oh, I can see it now, Mina said, looking at the ceiling. The karate tomboy and Iron Man who could match her fists and heart. I like her. Setsuna smiled, draping an arm around Mina. We are going to be the best of friends. Enough. Itsuka roared again as the girls laughed. See, can we just get to why we are here? Oh, we're here to see who else here likes Zuzu too. Nijire chimed in before Momo could say a word. The 1B girls and Melissa froze in shock, while 1A girls were frozen in shock by how nonchalant she just outright admitted it. Eeh! The guys heard from down in the living room as they played Superhero Smash Extreme. Most were confused, others accepted it as girls being girls, and Mineta struggled insanely against his bindings. Why, you all like Midoriya. Itsuka pointed towards the blushing girls of 1A and Nijire. Me too. Mei raised her hand, her eyes not torn away from her baby. Muscles got me bad for him too. How sinful. Ibara shrieked, clasping her hands in prayer. Please, O Lord, shine your light down and cure these women from the path of sin and lust. Setsuna froze, mouth agape and eyes twitching. She started removing her arm from around Mina, lest she start digging her nails into her pink flesh. Though with how jealous she was feeling, it was mighty tempting. Melissa was in likewise state of shock and jealousy. She knew that some of the girls of 1A had feelings for Midoriya given their flirtatious advances towards Midoriya, blush whenever he praised them, and act just as jealous as she when they weren't on the receiving end of his affections. But for all of Class 1A, including a third year the same age as her and her fellow inventor, both not even in his class, to all like, maybe even love, her crush made Melissa shield fighting off her own jealousy to hear the girls out before she started tearing them to shreds. Momo sighed, hand over her blushing face as she shook her head. You couldn't have waited for me to explain to them, Nijire? Momo asked. Oops. Sorry. Nijire apologized sweetly. Okay, well, since that bandage was just viciously torn off, Guess we have to admit it. Kyuka sighed and shrugged. Yes, I like green. Same/guilty. Mina and Hagakure said at the same time. Me as well. Ribbit. Azui croaked, a light blush on her cheek. Uraraka blushed furiously and nodded too. Wow. Lucky Midoriya. Itsuka gasped out. Actually impressed with the green-haired teen she figured as wholly innocent. Didn't think that he of all the guys could amass a harem of his own classmates. Plus another girl not from his class and his senior. Ibra was continuing her prayers to save the girls from their lust. And to smite down the blasphemous green devil disguised as an angel. Deku doesn't know that we all like him. Uraraka stuttered out. We actually only found out that we all liked him just yesterday, after the first videos. So by what circumstances has the Green Harem Master managed to ensnare all of you into his trap of love? Reiko said. Huh, Hagakure said, confused. She mean how did you all fall for Midoriya? Yui translated. The next few minutes were of the 1A girls, plus Nijire and Mei, explaining their love stories to the members of 1B and Melissa. With each tale, the 1B girls slowly became less confused and weirded out, quickly smiling at the romantic tales. Kinoko and Pony were almost bawling in tears at how romantic they were. Itsuka, Reiko, and Yui smiled and nodded. Their thoughts on Midoriya as a nice guy restored and brought up another level. Ibra was even stunned at how truly and wholly innocent and pure the girls' stories of love were, that she felt guilty and horrible for thinking them lust-cursed, or calling Midoriya a green devil. While the religious girls still frowned at what seemed like the making of polygamy, Ibra decided to remain quiet for now. Meanwhile, Setsuna and Melissa listened to each tale with growing confused feelings. Each tale of how Midoriya managed to make a home in the hearts of the girls made their own crushes of the boys soar. Especially Setsuna, who learned more and more of her, admittingly recent crush. At first, the two felt almost intimidated considering they were all so close with Midoriya. Setsuna's crush was as recent as the joint training class and only grew to full-blown crush just yesterday, while Melissa only spent a few days with Midoriya on I Island, one of those days being the I Island incident where her father was almost kidnapped and then almost imprisoned for orchestrating the whole thing. Then they heard the tales of Kyuka, Mina, and Nijire. Setsuna blinked in surprise at how Izuku managed to get the three girls fully falling for him around the few days of the cultural festival preparations and the festival itself. And coupled with how it was right after the cultural festival made her less intimidated, she actually felt more sure that her own feelings weren't to be written off as just a simple crush and to explore them more. Melissa felt the same too. Hearing how quickly, yet effectively Midoriya made an impact on them made Melissa more confident that her own feelings not just some passing fancy or naive crush. And with hearing more of how selfless, kind, and compassionate Midoriya was made her more sure of her feelings towards him. As Mei finished her tale, Momo had to make some napkins for Pony and Kinoko cry on. Itsuka's respect for the golden boy of 1A had grown. Yui and Reiko likewise saw their opponent from the joint training class with greater respect, with even Reiko showing a glance of emotion by wiping away a tear. Ibra was again feeling guilty for her slanderous thoughts over the green bean. That was shroom-tastic, Kinoko wailed, yet still made a mushroom pun to her classmates' fond eye rolls. I apologize and ask for your forgiveness. Ibra knelt and bowed to the 1A girls. I apologize for my words against you and Midoriya. While I may not approve of your practice of polyamory, it is not my business to interfere or forcefully change your ways. The girls were surprised, but not of Ibra's apology, but what she mentioned of polyamory. Last night, the girls decided to pick up what to do with their shared feelings over the boy the next day, and to not act aggressively or overtly hostile towards each other. But now they may have come across their answer to their problem by, ironically enough, the most holiest and religious of the girls here. It is all right, Shiozaki. Momo eased the vine-haired holy girl. We should have known that this must have been confusing and offensive to your faith and beliefs. And we apologize for bringing this out of the blue on you and the rest. Momo gave a pointed look at Nijire, who rubbed her head and smiled nervously. And we weren't offended, but we accept your apology and forgive you. In fact, you may have solved a problem that we had. Ibra raised her head to show a confused look, one shared by her fellow newcomers. And what was that? Yui asked, curious. Momo looked between the girls that felt romantic feelings for Izuku, and each one nodded in agreement. Yesterday, we didn't know what to do with our feelings or how to handle the fact that we all wanted to be with the same guy who captured our hearts. So we left things off to discuss later. Momo continued. But what we do know is that our feelings for Midoriya are real, and as much as we all want him for ourselves, we also don't want to hurt or ruin our friendships between ourselves. Momo looked to Kyuka, the both unable to imagine a world where they weren't friends. Studying together their talks about music and literature, how they played together in the cultural festival with the rest of their class, they didn't want to ruin all that. Uraraka and Azui looked to each other as well, the two likewise incapable of seeing themselves fight and destroy their friendship, or their friendship with Nijire, the two looking up to the periwinkle-haired girl, who smiled at them with the exact same thought in her head. Mina and Hagakure felt similarly, draping an arm over each other in surrogate sister friendship. Mei wasn't particularly close with any of the girls, yet getting to know them in such a short time, Mei felt happy and a part of a group of friends, something she was lacking in no small part thanks to her overzealousness when it comes to inventing, and she was already forming a bond of sorts with Melissa. Mei looked to the blonde daughter of one of her idols and knew that she had similar feelings for Izuku, and if they ended up fighting over him, Mei for once didn't think on her future support business opportunities and instead the loss of friendship before it could fully bloom. So rather than fight over him, and trying to get over Midoriya seems almost impossible for me or any of us, so it seemed that the most logical option remaining would be to share him. Momo revealed. A polyamorous relationship, as Ibra called it. The 1B girls had their eyes raised to the size of dinner plates, their jaws agape and wide. Setsuna and Melissa stared at Momo with surprise and hope twinkling in their eyes. Wow, was all Itsuka could say. That's a pretty big decision. Are you sure you are all okay with it? Looking once at each other and giving nods of approval, Uraraka answered with, yes, we are. I like Deku, maybe even love him. But if I was so selfish to keep him for myself and rob him of other who care for him just as much as me, I couldn't live with myself. Yes, Mina cheered, throwing her fists into the air. The Deku Club is born. Kyuka groaned and face-bombed. We are not calling ourselves. She groaned out. The cult of Deku, Mina suggested. The Mida cult. Hagakure threw out too. I don't think calling ourselves a cult is any better. Momo shook her head. The Deku harem. Mina tossed out another name. Midori's harem. Hagakure suggested again. Maybe the green team. Nijire joined the two in the name suggesting. All right, enough. Kyuka roared out, her patience run out. We'll talk about that later. So, I suppose that congratulations are in order. Itsuka said as she and rest of 1B girl clapped. But why did you want us here? To see who else likes Midoriya. Yes, Shui said. Midoriya has a knack for attracting women without knowing it, as you can see. Azui gestured to all of the girls of her class, Mei and Nijire. So we just wanted to make sure if any of you liked Midoriya too, and offer an invitation if so. Well, I think that we should start with the most obvious one. Kyuka said, she, Momo, and Uraraka looking towards Melissa, as the rest of the girls followed suit. Melissa blushed at the attention. Was it really that obvious? Melissa asked, embarrassed. Well, you did hug Midoriya into your large boobs when came to the gym, Shui pointed out. And were holding his hand for multiple instances, either in support or comfort. Momo added. And you blushing a lot whenever you and Deku talked, Nijire said. And don't think that we forgot you and Midoriya's date on Island. Kyuka raised an eyebrow at Melissa. Date? Setsuna thought, wide-eyed and jealous. IIT wasn't a date. Melissa waved her hands and shook her bright red face. We only met before then, and I was just showing him around Island. But you still like Midoriya? Azui said, not as a question but as a fact. Melissa sighed in defeat and nodded. Yes, I do like Midoriya. A lot, Melissa confessed. So are you gonna keep us in suspense, or are you going to spill how Midoriya won you over? Suka asked, now interested. Melissa sighed again, before breathing deeply and calming herself. Well, obviously it started on Island. Melissa began, her eyes looking afar as she relived the memories. I met Midoriya while he was with Uncle Might in Island. Wait, Deku went with All Might to Island? Uraraka asked, surprised and shocked. Oh shit. Melissa clasped her hands over her mouth, remembering how a panicked Deku asked for her not to tell Uraraka, Momo, and Kyuka when they found them on Island. I forgot not to say anything. Language. Ibara exclaimed at Melissa's curse. Really? Now you are a stickler for not cursing. Setsuna raised her eyebrow at Setsuna. What about all the times Bakugu was cursing like a sailor? Ibara blushed at the mention of Bakugu, but chose to ignore Setsuna's question. Actually, now that I think about it, we never did ask Deku why he was in Island. Uraraka hummed, cupping her in thought. We all just assumed he was there like the rest of us for the Expo. Yeah. Melissa sighed, disappointed in herself. I guess since I spilled the beans, I met Izuku when he was with Uncle Might on the island. Uncle Might said he came as his guest. That's interesting. Momo hummed out as the gears of her genius brain worked. Izuku is an All Might fanboy. His room is evident enough. She and 1A girls chuckled as they saw how All Might-centric Izuku's room was. But for All Might to invite Midoriya over everyone in the class is interesting. Well, let's talk about that later. Mina spoke up. Get back to your love story with Midori, Melissa. Well, after All Might introduced me to Izuku, and after All Might met with my dad, Izuku and I went around Island to see the attractions of the expo. Melissa continued, her smile coming back as she relived the events. I showed him across the place, and I can never forget that goofy fanboy smile of his when he looked around at all the heroes. Shortly before you three came along, Izuku and I talked about our schools, passions, and how I wanted to study more to be a better inventor. Izuku felt the same, saying that if he wanted to be a hero as great as Uncle Might, that he needed to give it his all. The girls all smiled and nodded at how Midoriya was and how passionate he was. Then before the party I showed him my lab and we talked about my dream to be like my father. Melissa continued. When he asked what I meant about being a hero, I told him I was quirkless. The girls blinked in surprise. Despite their time in the gym, Melissa never did tell about her being quirkless. I said that even though it was hard to deal with Tat for a while, I had another goal in life, to be like my father, to help and support heroes, saving and live in their own ways like how Papa helped heroes and Uncle Might. If I couldn't be a hero, then I'd be the next best thing and help the heroes with their gear. Be a hero's hero, you know. Uraraka widened her eyes in shock. Who protects the heroes when they need protecting? That was what Uraraka asked herself when she saw how hard Deku has struggled throughout their training, and especially in the joint training class where Black Whip first manifested and how in pain and in trouble Izuku was. She was reminded back to when she first saw a hero fight and defeat a villain, how the crowd and her parents cheered, how happy they were, and how she wanted to help people too, especially her parents. She became a hero to help people and to help her parents make money and live an easy life. But after seeing all the times Deku was in danger and fought hard in the entrance exam against Chisaki, and then when Black Whip went out of control, she had a new goal, to help heroes when they couldn't help themselves. And in hearing Melissa's words about being a hero's hero made her smile and connect with her more. May took her eyes off her baby and looked at Melissa with wider eyes. That's what I thought too, May thought. She was just as inspired by heroes as she was with their gear, their tools and items they used to help save the day. She always had a knack for inventing and building stuff and was especially happy when they helped and made people happy and satisfied. So what better way to help lots of people than make more of the inventions she loves to create, making support items for the heroes that inspired her like Airjet. And when she made Muscles' new costume, his gloves, and saw his smile, she felt overjoyed. Now with Melissa speaking those very same thoughts she had, May was now more curious and interested than ever to expand her friendship to others besides Muscles. After that, I gave Izuku a creation of mine, full gauntlet. a support item I was making for Uncle Might to handle his punches. Melissa continued. I gave it to Izuku after I saw him using his quirk and realizing how he was holding back and that his full power harms him from his scars. I gave it to him as long as he promised to never stop fighting for what's right and to be a hero. Back then, I saw him as a worthy up-and-coming hero and a friend. And a cute one at that. But he truly won my heart during the villain attack. Melissa remembered Wolfram and his group, how they were kidnapping his father, how Uncle Might and Deku fought so hard to save him. He fought so hard to save my father and All Might from the villains, and even saved me along the way, and I repaid the favor by saving him too. And when he was trying to save Papa, he was so angry, so determined to save him like it was the most important thing in the world to him, risking his life over and over just to save him. He was so heroic, kind, and caring. She remembered how he ran beside All Might and defeated the villain and saved her father. And when it was all over, instead of bragging or showing off, he told me that he couldn't have done it without me and my invention, thanking me for my help. He made my dream a reality and brought my father back to me. Melissa smiled lovingly, wiping away a tear from her eye. Since then I couldn't get him out of my head. I worked hard on another full gauntlet for Izuku, to continue helping him and get closer to him. I knew soon enough that it was because I fell in love with him. And the rest is history. As Melissa finished with a smile, the girls applauded the American beauty for her tale. Kinoko and Pony ended up crying again, only to be joined by Mina and Hagakure this time. Uraraka, who had a bit of resentment and angry jealousy towards Melissa, suddenly felt a desire for friendship with the blonde for their similar goals, with May joining her, wishing to be friends with not only a fellow inventor and daughter of David Shield, but someone who loves to invent to help people as well. Thanks, gals. Melissa rubbed her neck, slightly embarrassed. So, why you all are okay with me joining your group? Of course we are. Momo nodded, smiling kindly. After hearing your reasons for your feelings for Midoriya, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't. Momo held out a hand of invitation. To luck and unity. Melissa looked at the hand with smile, taking it. To luck and unity. Melissa replied. Welcome to the club, girl. Mina exclaimed happily. Yay! Melissa was tackled into a hug by Nijire. Another girl around my age that likes Zuzu. We are like twin sisters, aren't we? Not wanting to discourage the excited third year, Melissa smiled nervously and nodded. Yeah, I guess so. Alright, well, with Melissa joining us, Hyuka turned her sights to the 1B girls. What about you girls? Sorry, but no. Itsuka shook her head respectfully. I may respect him, maybe now admire with how much I've grown to know him through your stories, but I don't have any feelings for Midoriya. Yes, she has feelings for Tetsu. Yui spoke up. Yui! Itsuka yelled, shocked, blushing red. I said I didn't. You fell asleep doing class rep work, and you said Tetsu's name in your sleep. Yui said in response. Steam started escaping Itsuka's blushing face like train engine. The girls laughed. The 1A girls finding her blushing actually rather similar to Midoriya. I knew it, Setsuna cackled and pointed accusingly towards her class Republic. I knew you like him. Not so honorable to lie like that to your friends, Itsuka. Fine. Itsuka exclaimed before calming down with a deep sigh. I may have an interest, only an interest in Tetsu. Are you happy now? Indubitably. Setsuna nodded, satisfied. Anyways, moving on. Mina said, looking to the rest of the girls. What about you gals? Has Midori swept any of you of your feet? No, I have no romantic interested in Midoriya. Reiko shook her head. I, in fact, rather have been recently interested in another of your classmates. Really? Who? Mina asked, super excited. Your class's worshipper of the darkness, Tokoyami. Reiko answered. Oh, Mina said, interested. Now that's a ship I didn't even think about. Class 1B's ghostly lady with our emo bird prince. Oh, that actually sounds like the perfect match now that I think about it. Hey, if you want, we can put in a good word for you and see if he likes you back? Hagakure offered. Reiko's visible eye blinked in surprise. Truly? Reiko asked, hopeful. Of course. Uraraka nodded, smiling. You all listen to us talk so much on Deku. It's only fair that we help you all with your love interests. And Itsuka, we can also help you with Tetsu if you like. Yeah, girl. Mina jumped in. I'm good friends with Kirishima, and he and Tetsu are like the best of friends. Sans Kirishima and Bakugu. I can probably convince Kirishima to help his bro out and get you two lovebirds. Itsuka was taken aback by the offer of aid to her romantic issues. After a moment of contemplation, blushing during, Itsuka sighed and said, Okay, I accept. Itsuka said with a smile. I would very much appreciate the help. What are good classmates for? Kyuka asked rhetorically. What about you, Yanagi? Want any help with Tokoyami? If you are true in your offer and honesty, then yes, I too would appreciate the offer of aid in my interest with Tokoyami. Reiko nodded, thankful. And please, you may refer to me as Reiko if you like. The rest of the 1B girls were questioned one by one. Kinoko revealed she had no interest in Midoriya, but rather in her classmate, Shurihei Kowaro. At the revelation, the 1B girls actually groaned and revealed to Kinoko that it was no secret among their class that Kowaro had a crush on her as well. Well, all except for Kinoko herself. Kinoko blushed deeply at the information and buried her embarrassed head in her knees, smiling hopefully. When Pony was asked, Setsuna insisted that she was sure it was Monoma who she liked. Pony denied having any romantic feelings for both Midoriya or Monoma, and refusing to reveal any actual romantic interest of hers, keeping her thoughts of a certain white and red-haired boy. Ibara and Yui followed Pony's lead and denied any romantic attachment towards Midoriya and denied having any feelings towards anybody. No matter how many times Setsuna cried or the thoughts of 1A's explosive teen wormed his way into Ibara's thoughts, or the curious thoughts of a certain indigo-haired teen showed up in Yui's. Well, with that settled, Azui and the girls turned their gaze to the only 1B girl remaining. Setsuna, what about you, Ribbit? Well, Setsuna struggled to say, suddenly turning nervous and blushing. Actually, now that I recall, you and Midoriya were more friendly with each other back at the gym. Kinoko pointed out. He called you Suna. Yeah, he did call you that. Uraraka raised a jealous eyebrow at the green-haired girl. Well, the thing about that is, Setsuna tried to say, started to sweat. Also last night, you returned to the dorms later than the rest of us. Itsuka jumped in, her eyes narrowing in suspiciousness. And you girls said that Midoriya came back to your dorms later too, right? Yes, he did. Momo gained a similar suspicious glare. He went with the teachers upon their request to see Recovery Girl about those episodes he had in yesterday's videos. So both you and Izuku were absent from your dorms, and suddenly the next day you two are closer. Melissa added the facts, narrowing her eyes at Tokage. Strange coincidence, isn't it? Setsuna comical sweat drops appeared around her head as she faced the suspicious narrowed eyes of her classmates and suspicious glares of her fellow Midoriya-liking girls. So, Tokage, what do you have to say for yourself? Momo asked/demanded. Setsuna panicked as she remembered the events of last night. Sneaking and spying on Izuku and the teachers, learning about Izuku being All Might's successor and One for All, and the device's knowledge of One for All and Izuku's importance to their universe. Shit. Setsuna panicked. What do? I can't tell them about One for All. I promised Green Bean I would keep it a secret. Setsuna looked at the girls that also like Izuku. Suddenly, a light bulb lit up in her brain. But they aren't asking about One for All. They are asking about whether I like Izuku and why he and I are so close now. Setsuna sighed. I guess I have to tell the truth, but not the full truth. Besides, I don't mind sharing Green, as long as I have a seat at the table. Fine, I like Green Bean. And last night I followed him and the teachers and learned about what happened to him during the videos. Setsuna revealed. What? The girls exclaimed. Yeah, I'll spill, just chillax a bit and let me say my piece? Setsuna asked. After the girls calmed down, Setsuna sighed and continued. Well, after we left the gym, I followed Izuku and the teachers. They talked about what happened and went to Recovery Girl to check him out. The teachers found me out and I spilled that I followed because I was worried about Izuku. Setsuna took another breath and continued. We got to talking while Recovery Girl checked him out. He asked me all about my quirk and I obliged. He started doing that muttering thing of his that is kind of cute, and he figured out my quirk and its strengths like in seconds. Uraraka chuckled. That's Deku for you, Uraraka said fondly. Yeah. Setsuna smiled lovingly as she thought of Izuku and his smile when she said she saw them as friends. Well, I told him not to spill the beans of my quirk to his class, and he promised. He got all nervous and I calmed him down, saying that we were just chatting like a pair of good friends. He was surprised but was happy to hear that and said he saw me as a friend too, flashing that goofy and adorable smile of his. Setsuna blushed, twiddling her thumbs nervously. And to make it official, he started calling me Suna. Jerk, making me fall head over heels for him. Yeah, he'll do that, you. Melissa chuckled. So that was it? Uraraka asked. At Setsuna's nod, the girls relaxed considerably, worried that Setsuna had already taken Izuku for herself. Azuri perked up a moment later and asked, What about his headaches? Shui asked. Did you all find out what was causing them? Setsuna froze for a moment before saying, It was just stress. Suna lied. Guess after hearing that nasty business with his douchebag of a doctor from before, and relating so much with Kratos and Spawn with being betrayed or something, he was experiencing some headaches or something. The girls nodded, satisfied with the answer. Kyuka, however, raised an eyebrow, her jack waving around near her face as she pondered why Setsuna was both telling the truth and lying. So, Setsuna, you started liking Midoriya just yesterday? Suka asked. No, I actually started having this crush on him since our joint training class. Setsuna confessed, recalling how during the wait for her team's match and strategizing with her team, she couldn't help but look over at Midoriya from time to time. I don't know why, but I would look over and look at him sometimes, talking with his team for their match. He looked so invested in every match, writing everything down on his notebook. I was at first impressed at how good he was at observing and taking notes on everybody, but then I found it rather cute with how driven he was. Setsuna then remembered watching Izuku and his team's match against Monomas. Then as I was watching him fight in his match, I was drawn in by how cool and confident he looked. Then that new quirk of his showed up and started wrecking everything, and I was worried about him, seeing how much pain he was in. After it settled down, and then used that black whip of his again and then took down Shin, so I couldn't explain it properly, but I found my heart skipping a beat and couldn't get him out of my mind. Setsuna shook her head. I don't know if this is just a crush or if I'm truly falling for the guy, but when I see him make that goofy smile, take those goofy notes so determined and passionately, and see him act so kind, selflessly and heroically, I feel like stomach is in knots and my heart beating like rabbits. Setsuna smiled warmly and lovingly. But when he smiles at me and calls me Suna now, I like it a lot. Setsuna looked up to see the girls smiling at her. Pony and Kinoko started bawling and rushing at her, wrapping her up in a hug. Setsuna, Pony cried out. That was so cute and sweet. I'm so happy for you. That shroom-tastic. Kinko punned again. It was shroom-tacticular and beautiful. Please don't doubt your feelings. Setsuna was stunned by Kinoko's last words. She's right, Uraraka said, smiling at her. It was the same for me. For so long I was trying to rationalize my feelings for Midoriya to be just admiration and platonic, but I felt the same things you felt for him, and over time, I grew to accept the truth that I loved him. I think you do like Deku, and I would be more than happy to help you figure it out. Uraraka extended her hand out to her, a warm, kind smile on her face. Sister. Setsuna's eyes widened wider in full shock. She looked at her classmates who gave her supportive smiles and the other girls who flashed her smiles and supportive nods. Her agape mouth closed up into a whimpering smile, and with tearful eyes, she accepted Uraraka's hand. Thank you, sis, Setsuna whimpered. As they shook hands, the girls clapped and cheered for her. which turned to laughing and chuckles as Uraraka accidentally turned her weightless. Uraraka started apologizing profusely, but hearing Setsuna laughing in good spirits, Uraraka joined in. "Oh, I got it," Mina exclaimed excited. "Got what?" Hagakure asked. "The name for our group," Mina answered. "The Midoriya Sisterhood." I like it." Nijire chimed in cheerfully. "I'm game." Mei chimed in as she worked on her baby. "It works with Uraraka calling Setsuna sister," Shui croaked. "We can call each other that too." "I suppose it does," Momo hummed. "Though just shorten it to sisterhood for simplicity." "That sounds lovely," Melissa nodded. "Fine, whatever." Kyuka rolled her eyes, pretending not to dig the name. "I suppose it's official," Uraraka said, turning back to Setsuna and gestured to their new group. "Welcome to the sisterhood." Setsuna smiled happily. "Thank you, glad to be here," she replied. "Congrats on the name." Itsuka chimed in as the group looked to her and the rest of the 1B girls. "And though we might not like Midoriya like you all, we'd be more than happy to help you get your man. And in exchange we help you 6 with any guy troubles and romance problems you have," Melissa suggested. "It's a deal then." Momo nodded, she and Itsuka shaking hands. As the two shook hands, the girls of the sisterhood felt their fear and jealousy mostly vanish and come to an agreement of unity. "I might not win Deku's heart fully or have him for myself, but if I can be with him in any way, even if I have to share him with the others, then I accept that," Uraraka thought before a fire was lit in her eyes and smiled challengingly to her newfound sisters. "But make no mistake, girls dash. One of us will win him first," Setsuna thought, her shark-tooth grin wide and challenging. "One of us will this new race of ours, to be his first girlfriend," Momo thought as she shook Itsuka's hands, unable to hide her grin and fire in her eyes. "It's not a competition anymore to see who he likes more or who gets him for herself," Azui thought, standing straighter and more determined than ever. "It's now about who is brave enough to get him first." Melissa smiled challenging. "And there will be only one us who will take that honor dash." "And I will," all the girls of the sisterhood thought. "Well, I don't mean to ruin this moment, but I think we have to first address this new partnership with a serious question." Yui spoke up, the girls looking to her. "And what's that?" Nijire asked, curious. "It's if Izuku Midoriya has feelings for you all as well, and if he would be willing to share all of you." Yui dropped the bomb. Outside Heights Alliance dorms, Izuku and Eri sat on the bench outside the dorms, the white light of the lamppost shining down on both Izuku and Eri. The two huddled together, Izuku's arms comfortably and warmly around Eri as she leaned on his chest. The two were silent, Izuku waiting patiently for Eri to ask a question. After the rest of the girls went inside, Izuku and Eri sat down at the bench. Eri would open her mouth to begin asking but could quickly close it, shook her head and start thinking again, only to repeat her process a few more times. Izuku didn't mind waiting, even if Eri didn't ask what she wanted. It was still a pleasure to just be alone with his surrogate daughter and simply relax. After the 10th time, Izuku thought that maybe Eri needed a little extra support to speak her mind freely. "Eri," Izuku said. "Yes, Papa." Eri snapped away from her thoughts and looked up to Izuku. Izuku smiled warmly at the name, getting more and more used to it. "Eri, I don't mean to rush you or put pressure on you or anything, but if you have a question to ask me, then don't be shy," Izuku said, rubbing Eri's arm supportively. "You don't have to think too much on it. Just say whatever is on your mind. I promise that I won't get mad." "Okay." Eri nodded, nervously biting her lips. After another minute of consideration, Eri sighed and looked to Izuku. "Papa," Eri began. Izuku leaned in closer and said, "Yes, Eri." Who is my true mama?" Eri asked loudly. It took a few moments for Izuku's brain to reboot after what Eri asked. Izuku shook his head wildly and looked at the squirming, expectant Eri. "I'm sorry, Eri, could you repeat that?" Izuku asked, smiling just nervously. "I don't think I understood what you asked." Eri squirmed again and looked away from Izuku. Well, I know that you aren't my real papa. Not the one Grandpa Aizawa said helped deliver me into the world, but you are the only papa that I know. You help raise me with Uncle Mirio, Grandpa Aizawa, and Grandpa Might. You read me bedtime stories and stay with me till I fall asleep, and you cook to feed me. Eri looked up to Izuku. To me, you're the papa I chose and love. Izuku's eyes brimmed with tears at her sweet words. A stab of pain and guilt struck Izuku's heart. Your true papa loved you too. Very, very much. Izuku wanted to say. Izuku wanted to tell the girl about her true father, and that he loved her. Not for her to believe that he left her behind for no reason in the hands of Chisaki. He wanted to tell her the full truth, but he couldn't bear to see the tears and look of self-loathing she would have if she learned what happened to him. Her quirk may run wild again, but worst, she would never forgive herself. They only just helped Eri be able to smile, have fun, play with kids her own age, to live like a normal kid. If he tells her the truth, she'll spiral down again. And this time they may not be able to pull her out from this one. So Izuku chose to remain silent, letting the knife of guilt impale his soul. But he remained silent for Eri's sake and nodded thankful to Eri, allowing her to continue. I love that you work so hard to help me and that you like being my papa too. And I don't want you to think that I don't appreciate you. Eri struggled to say those last words, still learning some more advanced words from Aizawa. Izuku squeezed Eri's shoulder comfortably. I would never think that you meant that, Izuku replied. Eri smiled, some of her nervousness fading away. But if you are my papa, and I have my grandpas, grandmas and uncles, then I should have a mama, right? Eri asked again. Izuku gulped, worried about where Eri is going with this. Grandma Inko says that a child is born of the love between a papa and a mama. Eri looked back up to Izuku. Then who is my mama? Izuku tried to think and process what she meant through his own nervousness. His brain in havoc on how to interpret what she meant. Idiot! Izuku flinched as she heard a loud feminine voice shout in his head. Izuku blinked his eyes in surprise, acknowledging who the voice belonged to. Shimura, the seventh holder. That's right, you ignorant idiot. Nana screamed at him in his head again. The kid's obviously asking who of the girls in her life is her mama figure while you are her papa figure. Izuku froze, eyes wide as he took the information in. Eri, do you mean to ask that if I'm your papa, to then who of the girls you know if your mama? Eri nodded. I see, Izuku muttered. I guess that in trying to care for her as best as I can, I didn't realize that Eri needed someone to be a motherly figure for her. A woman Eri can learn from and admire. You're welcome, Nana said smugly before her voice and presence in his head seemed to disappear. Thank you, Shimura. Izuku thanked, regardless of whether she heard. Izuku then remembered how she asked the question the first. Looking back down towards Eri and asked, Eri, you asked before who is your true mama. What did you mean by that? Eri fiddled with her fingers. When we were watching those cool videos, and before, the girls were so nice and kind to me. Eri explained. Miss Melissa's hugs, Miss Urarika's smile and making me float, Miss Momo's head pats. They treated me like I how wanted for a mama, kind, warm mama why. I liked it. Izuku smiled, thankful that the girls were making Eri's life more happy and loving. He unknowingly blushed. But they also really liked you, Eri then said. Izuku gaped at Eri in shock and confusion. What do you mean, Eri? Izuku asked, unknown to him that his blush was rising. They all looked like they like you a lot. Eri continued. Miss Urarika, Miss Mina, Melissa, Momo, Tsu, Kyoka, Toru, Miss May, Auntie Niji and Miss Suna. They all smiled and looked at you like a mama looks at a papa, with love and happiness. Eri, I don't think you know the full facts. Izuku shook his head at Eri. His head now as red as a tomato, while he sweated. The girls and I are just really good friends. Of course they like me and I like them, but because we are friends. The girls don't like me like that. But the way they looked at you was the same as Grandpa Emi looks at Grandpa Aizawa. Eri pointed out, recalling the Ketsubusu teacher's visits and how she insisted that she was her Grandpa Aizawa's future bride. Or like Grandpa Inko and Grandpa Might. Izuku's eyebrow twitched at the last part. And they looked happy when your other used one and sad when you were hurt or sad. Izuku froze, eyes wide and expression in stunned surprise. Izuku struggled to look back to remember what Eri was talking about. To his shock, he found that she was right. Izuku remembered how, even when the girls chose different fighters to root for, they were still happy when his counterparts won. He remembered how they would blush whenever he smiled or praised them and their counterparts, before they looked extremely happy. He recalled how whenever he talked and laughed with one of them, the others from the corner of his vision would look jealous and mad, like they wanted him to look and talk to them. No, that can't be it. Could it? Izuku thought, extremely unsure. That's impossible. I mean, they are all so beautiful, smart and strong. Why would any of them like a weak, useless Dadash? Izuku stopped his train of thoughts, eyes widening. His mind returned back to Aldera, that day with the note in the locker, the laughing and jeering. Ha ha ha, who would ever like a useless, quirkless Deku like you? Ah ha ha, he said. Izuku's eyes began to drop and saddened before blinking in realization. No. He shook his head fervently. That's not true. She was wrong. I'm not some useless Deku anymore. And I have people who like and care for me. Izuku looked to Eri. And one of them is right here and calls me her papa. But is Eri right about that, girls? Do they actually like me? Or is there only one of them that likes me? Uraraka, Melissa, Setsuna. I mean, one girl liking me is insane enough, but multiple. Is it Momo? Or Mei? Azui? Toru? No, Toru definitely likes Ojiro. Right? Why do I feel so unsure about that? And happy about that? What if it's Mina, Kyuka, Nijire? But she and the others are so pretty and popular. They could have anybody they want and dash. Papa! Eri shouted. Izuku snapped out of his trance and shook his head. Why yes, Eri. You were muttering again. Eri pointed out. Oh shoot. Izuku clasped his hands over his mouth. I'm sorry. It's fine, Papa, Eri said. But why do you think that they wouldn't like you? Izuku froze and looked at Eri, who looked at him smiling assuredly. You are kind, smart, sweet. You look so cool when you fight bad guys, and you are funny. Eri listed, smiling at him. Anybody would love you, Papa. I do. Tears broke out of Izuku's eyes. His smile whimpering and shaky. He hugged Eri and she hugged him back. Thank you, Eri. I need that. Izuku sniffled. My self-esteem is so low that I have to get comforted by a child. What would Kaken say? You're welcome, Papa, Eri said. The two hugged for a while before they broke the hug. Izuku wiped the tears from his eyes and recomposed himself. Okay, well, say that you are right about the girls. Why did you ask which one of them is your true mama? Izuku asked. Well, it is because I thought that you could only have one mama and papa. Eri answered, though looked guilty as she said that. I was confused which one was my true mama. But when I chose one over the others, I felt guilty and sad. Why would you feel guilty and sad? Izuku asked, concerned. Because I think I see all of them as mama, Eri answered. But then I remember that you can only have one, and I was so confused, and so I wanted to ask you which one is our mama? Izuku pondered what she said, looking into her confused and hopeful eyes that made his heart tug. Well, Izuku began. Why do you have to choose? Eri hummed in confusion. I mean, why do you have to choose between them for them to be your mama? Izuku continued. If you want to see them as your mama, then you can. The girls would be more than happy to be your mama at any time. And who says that you can only have more than one papa or mama? I have more than one. Why you do? Eri asked, curious. Of course. Izuku smiled at her and rubbed her head. I have a real dad, but he was never around and left me and your grandma. But I had other figures in my life that are like my father. Like your grandpa might. Izuku thought of his idol, his comforting hugs, his proud smile, his valuable lessons worrying over him, and pushing onwards towards his goals. Izuku smiled assuredly. Your grandpa might is like a father to me. So is your grandpa Izawa. The two helped me be who I am today, more than my own father ever did. Izuku looked to Eri. If I can have multiple papas, then you can multiple mamas. Izuku said to Eri. As many as you want. Izuku cupped Eri's cheek lovingly. My little unicorn deserves all the mamas and love she can ever have. Eri teared up, sniffing as she tried to keep the snot from falling from her nose. Papa! Eri exclaimed from her whimpering mouth as she sprang forward and hugged him again, crying into his chest. Papa! Papa! Izuku smiled warmly and wrapped his arms around his daughter, petting and stroking her hair. There, it's okay. Izuku whispered warmly. Papa's here and you can cry as much as you want on him. Just let it all out. Eri cried and cried, hugging him tightly. I love you, Papa, Eri said. I love you too, Eri, Izuku said back. With all my heart. The two hugged for who knows how long. As they broke their hug, Izuku said, Are you okay? Eri nodded, smiling. That's great, Izuku replied. Suddenly the two noticed a white substance slowly fall between them and onto the bench. The father and daughter looked up to see that it started to snow. Oh yeah, sometimes I forget that it's still winter, Izuku thought. Izuku looked to Eri, seeing her gaze at the falling snow full of joy and wonder. Izuku and Eri watched as a tiny snowflake made its way slowly to the two. Eri stuck out her tongue to try and catch it, only for a breeze to blow it onto the top of Izuku's nose. The two laughed at that, relishing in the moment. A cold breeze blew, making the two shudder. It's getting kind of cold, Izuku shivered. How about we head inside? Eri whined childishly. Can't we stay out and play with the snow? Sorry, Eri, but we don't want to catch cold now, do we? Izuku replied. No, Eri replied, disappointed. Hey, when we get inside, how about we have some of that ice cream I promised, okay? Izuku offered. Eri gasped, excited. Strawberry, Eri asked. Yep, strawberry. Izuku nodded. Yay! Eri cheered, hopping off the bench and leading Izuku to the doors of the dorms. Izuku smiled at his daughter. Yeah, my daughter. Izuku thought with more determination than ever. And I will become a hero, one that the one world can look at, where Eri can look at and say, that's my papa, the greatest hero in the world. That's the future I will make. Whatever it takes. Hey, Papa, Eri suddenly said. Yes, Eri, Izuku replied. Do you like my mamas? Eri asked him again. Izuku blushed red hot, remembering all that made him into a blushing, stuttering mess. Will I? What do I feel for them? Izuku pondered, suddenly unsure. He thought of Uraraka and her smiles and their unwavering trust and friendship, Melissa's warm smiles and brilliant mind and determined spirit, Momo's comforting smiles and hands on his shoulders, as well as her brilliance and cute awkwardness, Ajui's adorable smiles and appreciated honesty and bluntness, Kyuka's amazing voice and cute blushing face, Mina's bright smiles and quirky, infectious energy, Hagakure's bright and bubbly attitude and hugs, Mei's unyielding passion and blinding smiles, Nijire's unfathomable beauty and her cute mutterings and rapid-fire questions, and even Setsuna's shark-toothed grin and her warm care and concern for him. I think you like them, Eri suddenly said, shocking Izuku from his thoughts to look at her with shock. And I think you should tell them. I'm sure they like you too. Eri continued, pulling Izuku into the dorms. Izuku still had many questions and thoughts swarming in his head, but upon seeing the guys wave at him and Eri's enthusiastic smile for her strawberry ice cream, Izuku thought he can leave those for another day. Support Department. Nizu walked into the support department to find David Shield and Power Loader looking over the device and the blueprints and crystals it had materialized. Power Loader, Mr. Shield. I see that you are looking over our recent gifts from our otherworldly friend. Nizu announced his entrance. Oh, welcome, Principal Nizu. David's shield replied with a bow. Sir. Power Loader nodded. What can you tell from these blueprints that we have received? Nizu asked, hopping onto the table they were placed. Oh, well, from what we gathered, it seems that some of the materials needed to make one of these lightsabers doesn't exist in our universe. Power Loader replied, looking over the blueprints again with Nizu and David. The names of these metals don't appear anywhere on the periodic table, and some of the technology seems light years ahead of what we can accomplish. I see, Nizu hummed. Given the universe these designs came from, it is to be obvious. However, this Zayden seems to have anticipated this. David said as he pointed towards a certain spot on the blueprints that showed the non-existent metals being compared to other well-known ones. In the blueprints, there are several shortcuts and alternatives he has listed that could serve as valuable replacements. The real trouble is the nanobatteries and energy source that would be needed to operate it. Would you kindly explain? Nizu asked. Well, the biggest trouble is the nanobatteries. Power Loader answered. The energy required to simply maintain and focus the plasma beam would be tremendous by normal standards, not to mention that the resulting heat would be more than 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It would take a large battery pack to operate. I see. Nizu nodded. Clearly not as stylish or as elegant as shown in the video. Thankfully, Zayden has shown us how to make the nanobatteries necessary to power it and maintain the energy, David pointed out. However, this kind has never been made, and me and Power Loader might need help to make it. I'm sure that your daughter and Miss Hatsumi would be more than happy to help you with this endeavor. Nizu replied. She sure would. David chuckled fondly. I'm more worried about Hatsumi. Power Loader shook his head. We let her get too greedy and ambitious, and she could end up blowing this campus sky high. Well, we wouldn't want that. Nizu chuckled, amused. Make sure to rein her in properly. Tell her to follow you and Mr. Shield's orders to the letter, or she will be barred from the project. Yes, sir. Power Loader nodded, sighing in relief. Please, just David would be fine, Nizu, sir. David scratched his cheek. Very well. Nizu nodded in acceptance. Back to the lightsabers. What about the energy source? Well, those crystals appear to be it. David pointed to the 5 multicolored crystals. From what we could observe and analyze from them, they seem to be emitting a rather vast amount of energy inside its crystalline structure. They don't seem to be radioactive, nor do they burn or melt at the touch, so they are safe to hold normally. Nizu nodded and opted to pick one of the crystals up. Nizu inspected the green one, remembering young Midoriya's counterpart, Luke Skywalker, and his green-bladed lightsaber. I suppose the blueprints have a name and knowledge of these crystals. They're called Kyber crystals. Power Loader answered. The blueprints and papers we have from the machine say that they are what ultimately power the lightsabers. The varied colors are what also give the blades their own unique coloration. They're also very powerful. One is enough to power lightsaber. A large amount can be used to power that Death Star, which was said to be able to destroy entire planets. Realizing the magnitude of power he wielded in his paws, Nizu carefully put the crystal back into its casing. My, that is quite alarming, Nizu said in a chipper voice. Let us hope that if you venture to make these lightsabers that no mistakes are made. Yes, sir, the 2 support inventors said. The power to destroy a planet, Nizu whispered, looking at the 5 Kyber crystals. Actually, there is something else that rather more frightening about them than just that, David said, removing his glasses as Nizu turned to face him. They're alive. Pardon? Nizu asked. The Kyber crystals. David gestured to the crystals with his glasses. They're actual living organic beings. From the paper Zayden sent us, they are said to be attuned with the Force, practically concentrated fragments of it, and that they exhibit the Force through a collective consciousness that borders on sentience. The papers also say that Kyber crystals are composed of both organic and inorganic matter, which is fascinating. They are so sturdy enough that can survive a faulty lightsaber exploding, which is also reassuring. I can see your clear enthusiasm, but I believe there is something else you wish to point out, Nizu figured out. Oh yes, sorry. David apologized before continuing. From the documents, they say that Kyber crystals actually start off as colorless. They only gain their unique after they are bonded with their chosen force wielder. Interesting. Nizu hummed, rubbing his chin. A true show of their semi-sentient consciousness. Nizu looked to the crystals. Since they are colored, are they crystals of force wielders we unintentionally robbed? No, the notes Zayden left say that they don't belong to anyone in their universe. Power Loader said. Which only begs the question as to who do they belong to. Nizu pondered the question, looking at the unique colors to see if they would give a hint to their true owners. Could the green be Midoriya's? Nizu thought. Not only does the color green seem to be associated with him through his bioelectricity and hair color, but his counterpart held a green lightsaber as well. Then who would the other crystals belong to? Does the purple one belong to Mr. Shinso then? Or perhaps Mr. Tokoyami? Questions to be solved later, I'm afraid. But it is clear that whoever the crystals are bonded to, they are unknowingly connected and can wield the force. Well, that is certainly interesting, Nizu said. But a mystery and situation for another day, I suppose. David, may you kindly place the device, the papers, and crystals in the safe, please? Yes, sure, David said, slightly surprised at the sudden request. David quickly gathered the requested items and moved them towards the secret vault. You want more information on who tried to steal the device yesterday? Power Loader whispered to Nizu. You know me so well, Majima. Nizu nodded, unsurprised that Power Loader deduced why he had David put the items away and not him. Anything new? Nothing really, Power Loader said. The would-be thief was hooded and kept the lights turned off. Cameras were mostly dark, so they couldn't get a good look at them. But one thing's clear. The thief, by his figure, he's a male student at that. Nizu let out a regrettable sigh. So, the traitor's a student after all, Nizu thought before turning Power Loader. Is there anything more you can deliver? Well, his height was fairly average, not large like Shoji, Jirota, Bondo, Koda, Sato, Kamakiri or Ida, or someone small like Mineta and Shoda, Power Loader replied. And they didn't have any kind of outer appendages that stuck like Siro's elbows, Ojiro's tail, Tokoyami's avian head, Manga's text bubble, or Kamakiri's incisors. And he was wearing gloves, so we can't analyze for fingerprints. But a bit of skin was shown through his wrists. It was pale white, so that counts Kowaro out too. That leaves 7 of the boys of Class 1B and 6 of Class 1A. Nizu thought. Lower 1A to 5 since Midoriya was with us. That leaves Class 1B Senkaibara, Yosetsu Aways, Kozai Tsuburaba, Tetsu, Juzo Hananuki, Hiryu Rin and Nito Monoma, and Class 1A's Katsuki Bakugu, Shoto Todoroki, Ajiro Kirishima, Denki Kaminari and Yuga Aoyama. Add to the list Hitoshi Shinso for good measure, and that's 13 suspects. A rather unlucky number for very unlucky situation. However, this traitor must be identified if UA's safety and future of its students is to be assured.